Updates from the IRS on whether you need to report the $600 or more of transactions from, credit card processors, CashApp, those sorts of things. Update from the IRS, new rules. I've got that and more coming up. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. It's been a while since we've heard anything from the IRS about these, it's 1099K tax forms, not K1s, not just normal 1099s, 1099K tax forms. But essentially what that is the need to report transactions through Venmo or PayPal, these credit card processors, network transaction processors of greater than $600. It's been a couple of years where we've known this rule was going to be implemented, and we haven't had an update now. In 2023 is about to come to an end, and it's supposed to take effect this year. So just got an update from the IRS, but before we get into that, let's level the playing field. What is this all about? So prior to 2022, a 1099K for a summary or reporting gross credit card transactions or network processing transactions, in order for that 1099K to be issued, then the requirement was that total receipts or total gross payments processed through this, through Venmo or Apple Pay or Cash App, something like that, the total in aggregate needed to be at least $20,000, and you needed to have 200 or more transactions. If only one of those was met, then this 1099K didn't need to be issued. But if both of them were met, then the company would send you a 1099K. And so essentially what that meant is if you had transactions of over $20,000 and over 200 actual transactions, then you were essentially using Venmo or Cash App or PayPal for your business, for the most part. Most individuals that were using this for peer-to-peer money transfers, they're not going to exceed that amount. And therefore, likely that would mean, no, this is a business and you should be reporting all the revenue, whether it's, $20,000 or $10,000 or $5,000. If you're running a business and using these payment processors, you need to report that income anyway. Starting in 2022, the new rule was supposed to be changing that 20,000 gross income or gross kind of transactions process down to $600. An enormous change. And instead of, it's got to be at least 200 transactions, no, any number of transactions. There's no threshold anymore. Could just be one transaction of $600 through Venmo or Cash App, and you're going to get a tax form for it. But not just you, the IRS is going to get a tax form for it as well, and therefore they're going to expect to see that on your tax return. This was just mass confusion. It was going to create so much complexity, and it will whenever this is officially rolled out. But let me just make sure it's clear and understood. If we've got young kids, and therefore it takes a village. That's true. Kids are always having sleepovers, or we're in travel sports, so they're off doing something with another family or whatever. And it's very common that one of the kids might be, spending the weekend with another family while they're at a tournament because we're at a different tournament with with one of our other kids, and so on. And we will send, using Apple Pay or Venmo, we'll send some money to that other family. Hey, here's $100 to help with, food and lodging and all that sort of stuff, whatever it is, okay? That's not taxable. Whether the accumulation ends up triggering a K1 or not, that's not taxable. We did not send $100 or $25 or whatever it was in exchange for a good or service. That was a peer-to-peer financial, cost-sharing sort of thing. That's not a taxable transaction. These apps are supposed to have it such that you're able to indicate whether this was for a good or service or not. I've never seen that. Some people have said that they have. I've never seen that, and therefore, whenever this rule changes, I'm assuming there's just going to be a bunch of these transactions that are included on this tax form that I have to indicate on my tax return, no, this was for something else. This was not for a good or service or whatever. Versus a different example, whether these thresholds change or not. If you are running a lawn care business, and for compensation or to receive payments for your lawn care services, you accept Venmo payments, whether that you accept enough Venmo payments to trigger this 1099K or not, you need to report that as income. You're working, you're providing a good or service, and therefore any payment, whether there's a tax form or not, you have to report that as income. The threshold here is simply, well, what triggers a 1099K tax form that is sent to you, but it's also sent to the IRS, and therefore, you've got to report on it just to reconcile it. All right, so the rules supposed to shift to that $600 threshold and no minimum transaction number, supposed to shift to that in 2022. That would have been just it would have been a disaster. So about a year ago, they delayed it to 2023. Well, here we are. In December, it was just announced late November. They've delayed it again. Thank goodness. So for 2023, as the year is coming to a close and you're soon going to be thinking about what documents and records you need to keep track of to give to your CPA so they can file your return, you won't need to be on the lookout for this 1099K and have to substantiate all these transactions. Keep in mind, remember that if you are using Venmo or CashApp or these network processors for a business, you still have to report all of that income. This rule doesn't change that. It's just, will you receive a 1099K? No, it's still based on the $20,000 gross receipts and 200 transactions. Now, they are saying that even though they're delaying it for 2023, this is not gone. They're going to implement it, that's what they said before, in 2024. And instead of $600, they're looking at a $5,000 threshold. We shall see, guys. I would continue to tell you, expect this is going to happen. Expect at some point there's going to be 1099s issued, 1099Ks issued at a lower threshold. There will be the need for you to substantiate. Nope, this was, I received this amount of money because I sold a used couch and I bought the couch for $1,000, I sold it for $100, it's not taxable, sort of thing. Or no, this was just peer-to-peer, we were sharing the price of pizza or price of dinner or something like that. Hopefully, before this threshold is lowered, hopefully these apps have it more consistent where you're able to indicate, no, this was peer-to-peer, this was for a good or service. Otherwise, whenever this does officially roll out, it's going to be messy. All in all, work with your planner so that you're aware, okay, which of this needs to land on my tax return regardless and which of it will not. And so that whenever this rule does change and you get this tax form, you don't just blindly give it to a tax preparer and they put it as taxable income when in reality it shouldn't be. So work with your CFP on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.